In 2026, the cheapest new SUVs still want serious money today, and that is why smart buyers go used. The real win is buying the right year, the right hardware, and the right history. And lucky for you, we found 6 SUVs to prove it. Stay close because number 1 is the safest, no regrets buy most shoppers still overthink badly. Number 6. 2019 Buick Envision. This is the quiet budget SUV most buyers skip for a really dumb reason. It looks too calm, too grown up, too much like something a careful uncle would drive, and that is exactly why the value is still sitting there in 2026. A clean 2019 Buick Envision with the 2.5 usually lands around $13,750 to $14,650 today, and that puts it right in the sweet spot for a buyer who wants comfort without buying somebody else's expensive badge fantasy. What makes this one work is that we are not chasing the turbo story, and we are not pretending every trim is equal. We want the simple 2.5-liter 4-cylinder with the 6-speed automatic because that is the version that makes sense for a no-drama budget buy. It gives you a smooth ride, a quiet cabin, and an easier step-in height, which matters when you are tired of climbing up into truck-like SUVs or dropping down into low sedans every single day. On the road, this thing feels plush, stable, and silent in a way a lot of cheaper compact crossovers do not. That is why I like it for the guy who cares more about a relaxed commute than showing off in a parking lot. And here is the part shoppers miss. A lot of people will stretch for a newer CR-V Touring, an older Lexus, or even a high-mile Acura RDX just to feel better about the badge. Then they end up paying more for the name and not much less for repairs. The Envision is the opposite play. It is cheaper because people overlook it, not because the basic package is broken. If this kind of straight, practical buyer advice saves you from one bad deal, subscribe today. We are building a smarter garage crowd that buys calm, clean vehicles and skips flashy mistakes. In the shop, this is the kind of SUV that makes more sense the longer you look at it. The parts situation is normal, the engine bay is not ridiculous, and the whole thing feels built for daily life, not for brochure drama. But you still need to inspect it like a grown man using his own money. Start with a full cold start, then let it warm all the way up and feel the transmission on a real drive. Because a budget SUV that shifts rough when hot is not a budget SUV anymore. Test the screen, the backup camera, the climate controls, and every fan speed, because small electronic problems become annoying faster than engine noise. Look hard at the tire wear, especially on the inner edges, because uneven wear tells the truth about alignment, suspension, and neglect. Check the service records, because clean paperwork matters more than shiny paint. Then, run the VIN and make sure recall work is done, because that is 5 minutes of effort that can save you weeks of stress. If the story is calm, the ride is smooth, and the records look honest, this is one of the quietest value buys in the whole used SUV market. And the next SUV is far more respected, with a stronger badge and more muscle, but it is still sitting in a price lane that surprises people. Number 5. 2017 Acura RDX. This is the budget luxury SUV for men who want comfort, power, and low-drama ownership without falling into the used European money pit. The 2017 Acura RDX usually sits around $14,800 to $15,300 in fair buy territory, though cleaner examples and better trims can climb higher, and that makes it one of the few premium badge SUVs that still feels reachable without doing something stupid with your budget. What makes this one such a strong buy is the hardware. You get a 3.5-liter V6, a 6-speed automatic, and a powertrain story that feels far more natural to this audience than a tiny turbo engine trying to act brave. There is no CVT here, and that alone will calm a lot of people down. On paper, the RDX gives you around 27 highway miles per gallon, but the real reason it belongs here is that it feels solid, smooth, and mature every time you drive it. This is not fake luxury. This is the kind of vehicle that ages better than people expect because the formula is simple for the class. In a shop setting, these often come across like vehicles that were bought by adults, serviced on time, and not turned into social media projects. That matters. Compare it to a same-money German compact luxury SUV, and the difference gets ugly fast. The European badge may look cooler for 10 minutes, but then the repair estimates show up, the warning lights start playing games, and the whole ownership story turns stressful. The Acura is the smarter move because it gives you enough premium feel without asking you to fund somebody else's deferred maintenance. One more reason I trust it is cabin logic. The seats feel supportive, the driving position feels natural, and visibility stays good on long miles, so you are not fighting the vehicle. That matters more than stitched leather or a grille. You still need to buy carefully, though. Start with a true cold start and listen for a smooth, settled idle, because a rough start tells you the story before the seller does. Check around the timing cover area and anywhere you see fresh cleanup, because seepage matters on an older V6. Take a full drive and pay attention to the transmission, because it should shift cleanly, not slam, flare, or hesitate. If it is all-wheel drive, make tight, low-speed turns and make sure it feels clean, not binding or weird. Then test every power feature: windows, seat motors, tailgate, screen, and camera, because luxury features are only nice when they actually work. Look for full maintenance records, especially fluid services, because this SUV rewards routine care. When the history is clean, the ride is smooth, and the cabin still feels tight. The RDX starts looking like one of those rare used buys that still gives you real satisfaction after the first month. And as good as this one is, the next SUV drops the premium feel, keeps the value story, and hits even harder as an all-around budget tool. Number 4. 2017 Mazda CX-5. This is the budget SUV for the guy who wants life in the steering wheel, feel in the chassis, and pride every time he pulls onto a back road. A lot of budget crossovers drive like rolling appliances, vague and forgettable, but the 2017 Mazda CX-5 is different in a way you notice within the first half mile. It feels tighter, sharper, and better built than a lot of newer base SUVs that cost more. In 2026, most clean examples land around $13,150 to $14,800, depending on trim. And that window is why this thing matters. You are getting a 2.5-liter four-cylinder, a 6-speed automatic, and a package that feels more natural than a lot of newer budget SUVs loaded with extra complexity and little reward. That is the main play here. We are not chasing some fancy hybrid story. We are buying the simple American market setup that gives you enough power, decent mileage around the mid-20s in town and around 30 on the highway, and a driving feel that stays smooth without feeling numb. This is the SUV for the buyer who hates floaty crossovers and cheap cabins, and wants a vehicle that feels planted at 70 miles per hour instead of loose and distracted. In real life, that matters more than brochure features. When one of these comes through a shop, the first thing you notice is that it usually does not feel thrown together. The doors shut with weight, the front seats feel supportive, and the whole SUV gives off that balanced, well-kept vibe when the previous owner cared. Compare it to a newer base SUV from a mainstream brand, and the Mazda often feels like the more expensive machine even when it costs less money. That is why this one earns a spot. But still, do not get lazy just because the vehicle feels good on a test drive. Start by listening for front suspension noise over broken pavement, because clunks and rattles can turn a clean first impression into an instant repair bill. Then work the screen, the backup camera, the phone connection, and the menu response, because infotainment glitches get old fast. You also want to check for recall completion and VIN history, especially because this generation had safety actions tied to daytime running lights and earlier CX-5 fuel system issues around the filler pipe, so paperwork matters more than a seller's memory. Look closely at body gaps, paint match, and overspray, because these SUVs are popular and accident repairs are not rare. Then get down and read the tires like a mechanic. Uneven shoulders, chopped tread, or cheap, mismatched rubber tell the whole story about alignment, suspension, and ownership habits. If the tires are rough, price that in immediately. The beauty of this SUV is that it gives you a driver's feel without weird engineering. It feels like something built by people who cared how a crossover should move, and that is why it hits harder than its price suggests. And the next SUV is not nearly as exciting or sharp, But when it comes to pure daily logic, easy ownership, and long-term peace, it is one of the smartest tools in this entire market. Number 3. 2016 Honda CR-V. This is the SUV buyer's call. Boring right up until they drive 3 of them. Compare the cabins, compare the sightlines, compare the cargo room, and suddenly realize, boring can be brilliant when your own money is on the line. The 2016 Honda CR-V is one of those used buys that makes more sense the longer you stand around it. In 2026, most decent examples sit around $13,250 to $15,500, depending on trim and miles. And that is a strong lane for a compact SUV with this kind of reputation. Under the hood, you get Honda's 2.4-liter 4-cylinder, and yes, this audience is going to notice the continuously variable transmission right away. That is the weak, emotional spot here, so we should be honest about it. If you hate that design in principle, fine. But this is one of the rare cases where the total ownership story is still strong enough to keep the vehicle on the list. Why? Because the rest of the package is so easy to live with. The seating height feels natural, the outward visibility is wide, the controls make sense the first time you touch them, and the cargo area is genuinely useful without making the vehicle feel bulky. This is not the SUV you buy to impress anybody. This is the SUV you buy because you are tired of fighting cramped cabins, tiny windows, and fake sporty nonsense. In the real world, that counts for a lot. It is also why resale stays healthy. A clean CR-V is easy to understand, easy to park, easy to load, and easy to recommend to almost anyone in the family. Compare that with the newer 1.5 turbo CR-V money, and a lot of budget shoppers are better off stepping back one generation and buying the cleaner, less stressed option instead of paying extra for newer sheet metal and more complexity. Still, you cannot buy this one on reputation alone. Start the engine cold and sit with it. Pay attention to the idle feel through the seat and steering wheel, because buyers should still listen closely for roughness or vibration behavior during the test drive, especially since the previous vibration discussion around the earlier model years never fully left buyer conversations. Then check the service records and look for real fluid history, not vague promises. Turn the air conditioning on high and make sure it blows cold, steady air, because a daily SUV with weak climate control becomes miserable fast. Drive over patched roads and listen to the rear suspension, because worn rear components can make the back of the vehicle feel loose and tired. Watch how it tracks on a straight road, and do not ignore tire wear, because those tread patterns reveal neglect faster than a seller ever will. If the records are clean, the idle is settled, and the whole SUV feels composed. It becomes easy to see why so many people end up buying one after pretending they wanted something else. If this honest buyer's guide keeps bad purchases away, subscribe today. We share simple checks, smart choices, and reliable vehicles for people who want calmer ownership. Number 2. 2017 Toyota Highlander. This is the 3-row SUV for people who hate replacing vehicles every few years, and that is why it belongs near the very top. The 2017 Toyota Highlander is not the cheapest thing you can buy, but it is one of the few budget stretch buys in 2026 that still feels smart, stable, and sensible after you hand over the money. Clean non-hybrid trims usually land around $17,500 to $19,050, which sounds like a lot until you look at what newer 3-row crossovers cost now. That is where this Toyota starts making real sense. You are getting family-size space, a strong reputation, and on the right gas models, the hardware this audience actually trusts. The sweet spot is the 3.5-liter V6 with the 8-speed automatic, because that combo feels like a real step up from the tiny turbo 3-row SUVs people get pushed into today. It has enough muscle for road trips, enough cabin room for kids, bags, and store runs, and enough maturity that it does not feel worn out after one bad winter. Toyota rated the V6 AWD models around 20 miles per gallon in the city and 27 on the highway, which is very fair for a roomy family machine with this kind of usable power. In the real world, this is the buy it once and keep it type of SUV. It is for the family man who wants one vehicle that can do school runs, highway weekends, home store errands, and long drives without always feeling one repair away from trouble. Compare that with newer three-row crossovers using smaller turbo engines and much higher payment logic, and the Highlander starts looking like the smarter adult decision. A lot of those newer SUVs feel thinner, more complex, and less relaxed, even though they cost more. The Toyota feels like it was built for families who actually keep vehicles past the warranty years. That matters. But still, do not buy it like a fanboy. Give it a full warm drive and pay attention to how the transmission behaves after real heat gets into it. You want smooth shifts, not odd flares, lazy downshifts, or hard bumps. Listen for front suspension noise over patched roads, because family SUVs chew through bushings and links just like anything else. Check the third row hard, not just the first two rows, because ripped trim, stuck seat releases, and beat-up cargo panels tell you how hard the vehicle lived. Look at brake life, because larger SUVs eat pads and rotors, and that becomes your money on day one. Then do the VIN lookup and verify recall completion, especially because Toyota fuel pump recall history from this period is not trivia, it is mandatory homework before money changes hands. If the history is clean, the drive feels calm, and the cabin still feels tight, this is one of the safest family-size buys in the whole used market. And still, number one gives up the extra row, gives up some bulk, and for most buyers becomes the even safer no-regrets play. Number 1. 2017 Toyota RAV4. This is the SUV. People complain is overpriced right up until they own one for 5 years, stack up the receipts, and realize the market was trying to tell them something important all along. In 2026, a clean 2017 Toyota RAV4 usually sits around $15,850 to $18,550, depending on trim, miles, and history, and that is exactly why it wins this list. It is not the flashiest compact SUV. It is not the quickest. It is not the one that gets neighbors asking questions. It is the one that quietly makes the most sense for the broadest number of real buyers using their own money. Smart buyers do not need hype. They need a machine that starts every morning, handles abuse, has broad parts support, and is easy to move later if life changes. The gas model with the 2.5-liter 4-cylinder and 6-speed automatic is the heart of that story. Every mechanic, parts counter, and used car shopper knows this setup. That kind of broad, familiar value matters more than one extra screen or one cooler grille. Toyota also made Safety Sense P standard for this model year, which adds real value for buyers who want a more modern safety feel without paying modern prices. It has enough room for adults, enough cargo space for weekend work, enough road manners for highway miles, and enough resale strength that you do not feel trapped. For a 45-plus buyer who wants to buy once and sleep well, that is gold. It also has the kind of part support and repair familiarity that keeps problems from turning into week-long headaches or dealership captivity. A lot of the same money-compact SUVs look prettier or feel more fashionable for 10 minutes, but they do not carry the same long-term trust. But when the miles stack up and the ownership story gets real, the RAV4 keeps showing why it stays on short lists. It is the SUV version of a sturdy hammer. Nobody brags about it, but everybody respects it when work needs to get done. In daily life, it just fits. The step in height is easy, the seating position is natural, the outward view is good, and the cargo area is useful without making the whole vehicle feel oversized. Fuel economy also stays reasonable, with gas models rated around 22 miles per gallon city and 28 highway. And that matters when you are actually paying for every fill-up. The inspection side is simple, but it has to be done carefully. Start by checking for water pump seepage or any dried coolant traces under the hood, because small leaks become big headaches when people ignore them. Then listen to the suspension on rough pavement. You want a composed, quiet feel, not front-end chatter or loose body motion. Watch for excess road noise, because cheap tires can make a good SUV feel tired and rough. Read the alignment through the steering wheel and through the tire wear, because feathered edges and crooked tracking always cost somebody money, and that somebody becomes you. Check brake history, because a seller saying they are fine means nothing. Look for paper. Then, test every electronic feature you will touch every day. camera, screen, cruise controls, climate controls, and safety functions, because convenience only matters when it actually works. And yes, the VIN recall check is required here too, because Toyota fuel pump recall history matters. And skipping that step is lazy. The deeper reason this RAV4 beats the market is emotional as much as financial. It removes doubt. It removes second-guessing. It removes that sinking feeling people get after buying something with too many gimmicks and not enough proven substance. This is not the fanciest SUV in the parking lot. It is the easiest one to recommend to a grown man using his own savings. It wins because it is practical without feeling cheap, reliable without feeling dull, and common enough that ownership stays simple in almost every town in America. If these straight, reliable buyer guides help you dodge costly mistakes, subscribe today. We are building a smarter community for people who keep vehicles longer. That is why this Toyota is the strongest, no regrets buy here. It does not ask you to believe in a trend. It asks you to trust a pattern that has already played out on real roads, through real winters, through real family use, and through thousands of ordinary miles. That is exactly what most buyers should want. Click the next video now, because these smarter SUVs will not stay overlooked forever. The market always catches up. Subscribe, keep learning, and grab the right deal before others do.